Oh my, once again on the air is, what's the word I'm looking for? On the air. How you doing?
Hey, we should all have a word. I'll say on, you say the, you say air. Hey, it's on.
Did you do, is that like a morning radio show thing?
Hi there. Yeah, it's a morning thing. It's wacky. You know, another thing that works on morning radio, I find.
Not that.
No, is when you say something wrong and everybody listening is yelling at the radio.
Yes.
Like,
Oh yeah.
What's the name of that mountain up?
Yeah, we did that one time on Big Biz show.
Right.
We said, remember that the thing at Disney called Thunder Magic?
The Thunder
Right?
Mountain.
Thunder.
It's
It was
big
it was the Gewürztraminer. What was the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were like going crazy.
Yelling, it's
No.
the Matterhorn.
It's a thing, right? Isn't that how you?
It's a thing. Anyway, this
Like
is the
right
thing.
now, everyone's yelling at the television, what's Russ wearing?
Yeah, what the hell is that, by the way?
Well,
Jumps. First of all, did you buy that in the back of Parade magazine?
By the way, that's a
Remember the back of Parade magazine? They had those jumpers.
you can have these. Well, we're coming up on Halloween, not too far away. I've already got the candy, and 2 bags have already been consumed. But I thought I'd wear this prisoner outfit because I'm a Californian. I feel I'm being held
Wow.
hostage by
Wow.
a ruling party that, we're going to get that?
Oh, that's right, because
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom is still.
He's back,
still
and
in
he's going to
charge.
screw it up. So there's no hope. Anyway.
I thought it was really interesting, though, just how unclose it was.
Yeah.
Like I really thought there was a chance for this recall.
Yeah.
Because what I didn't think Gavin Newsom was taking into consideration is how many blue businesses he was shutting down. He wasn't just shutting down red businesses.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I
think that snake's going to bite again.
Well, I think first of all, I'll tell you this: Larry Elder will probably not run for the.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I think first of all, I think he leapfrogged over Kevin Faulkner.
Yeah.
It got lucky because he's a radio host.
Yeah.
I think he got everybody in a froth, and I think that froth is probably over.
I think if you
Because
want to see a
don't
big
know.
change, Caitlyn Jenner would be,
As evidenced by the big
But-
As evidenced by the big change.
By the big change.
But
Thanks,
the
what a
person
great
that
crowd.
came in second was a Democrat named Kevin Paffrath.
Yeah, who's
And,
he?
well, he's a YouTuber, and he made some. He got some votes.
And my new favorite lady, I couldn't hum a song, but Nicki Minaj, is that her name? Which sounds like an Italian ice cream. I'll have a little Nicki Minaj. A little Nicki Minaj.
Why?
But she spoke up against the COVID shots. She said her cousin's friend had an inflamed
That's
area.
completely anecdotal. Get the shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
This is not my pandemic. It's your pandemic.
right. You got, but also another
debatable.
Another thing that got brought up, when you go into a restaurant, you have to show your proof that you got vaccinated. I'm saying, well, you mean the waiters? I want to see the guy cooking my food's card. How about you,
We're
lady?
going to parade them all
I
out
want to bring
one
them
by
all out.
one.
That's right.
All right, Tommy, what do we got
Let's
here today?
go.
We have a great show. This is episode 66, and we have 4 of our friends from radio sitting out there. Let's bring in Bachelor number 1.
Are they all
His
bachelors,
name,
by the way?
no, his name is synonymous to early American rock and roll and surfing, but we know him as iHeartRadio's longtime radio veteran, Mr. Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson.
Brian.
Wilson.
God, somebody from the upstairs. is actually
Brian
doing-
Wilson. I've warmed the
Dude,
seat up for
I
you.
haven't seen you in so long. Good to see you, man.
What up, Brian?
We didn't tee it up before the thing. I didn't know you were out there.
Yeah, man, I didn't want to bug you. I figure you're in your element.
Well, I'm very important here.
Yeah.
Well, we have a
Something,
great
huh?
show. We have a great show lined up, and Brian
Now
Wilson
we
is
do.
our very first
Are you
guest.
just going to go down the aisle?
Yeah,
like,
whatever.
like one by one?
Yeah.
Like
How many guests
you're
we
a
have?
skittle going down.
We have
It all
17.
started when
Yes, talk.
Hey, how did it all start, Brian? Are you a San Diegan?
born and raised.
What high school did you go to?
Rare.
Mira Mesa. Now everyone and their mother are gonna make fun of me because that's kind of my thing. I'm like from Mira Mesa, born and raised in San Diego. Absolutely.
But so all 4 of us are born and raised in San Diego.
Right.
You don't find that very often.
Very rare.
No. I mean, honestly, I think that we're at. David, were you born and raised in San Diego also? Yes. There's 5 of us. I think
Big
that, honest
family.
to God, that's it.
A lot of brothers and sisters.
2. I have twin sisters, 2 years younger than me. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were you ever on air? I always know you in the hallways with a clipboard and a wave because you're always, the boss.
That's kind of the story of my life. I have been, but I get more people recognizing me from whenever I did call-ins to Jeff and Jay or Jag and Christie, or I filled in on the show.
Yeah.
Or I was like, hey, Dave Shelley and Chainsaw made fun of me, or somebody like that. More people recognize me that way than I ever did hosting a talk show at 1090.
I always got called into a meeting, like if they wanted me to be like a business or sports thing, and Brian was always there. I go, I think he's somebody's boss.
He is
Like
the
I gotta,
boss.
like I fold my hands, I gotta wear the thing, like I button up something, because it's like I never really knew. But you've had a very long career in radio, haven't you? On the other side of the microphone.
Absolutely. 25 years of, I just hit 25 years. And so, yeah, it started in promotions way back in the day.
Wow.
You know, Jeff and Jared just comes to Star 100.7. I actually just graduated, got a job in promotions and did that, and kind of worked my way through programming a little bit and into the sports side.
Isn't that where it all starts, though? Every single story we hear about starts in promotions,
Right.
which is
Oh, yeah.
basically handing out stickers for $6 an hour in a bad van.
Yeah.
Right?
But
$8 an hour.
let me ask you this,
College
Brian.
graduate.
I believe Star 100.7 from 1997 to 2005 was probably the best radio station, best crew, on-air crew, behind-the-scenes team, the best ever in San Diego. Do you agree with that?
Well, I was there, of course, I'm going to
Yes.
say yes. But, you know, you walk in as a kid from college, growing up in this town, Jeff and Jer, Tommy, right into Anita Rush, who
Yeah.
was
great name.
amazing. Yeah, amazing, you know, jock.
I might
Jagger
use
and
that.
Christy.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
I need a rush.
Anita Rush?
Jagger,
I need a rush.
Jagger and Christy were afternoon drive at that point, and then you had the new guy at night who's gone on to be a program director and stuff in Los Angeles and be successful. So for a kid coming right out of college who got my degree in radio television, even though I was kind of viewed as the big dumb jock, I wanted to learn this. So starting in promotions and kind of working my way up, I couldn't have asked for a better way to see how the sausage was made.
Did you get in the business by emptying trashes? Like, just wanted to get in the building? Like, most of us just wanted to be in the building, right? Because if you're in the
Absolutely.
building, you probably got yourself a job. Man.
Exactly. That was promotions, like I said, $8 an hour, 32 hours a week, college grad, and found a way. I did security through college, playing baseball. Like, that was staff.
You got
program,
you got
security.
free really bad Padre tickets, like way at the top.
Yeah.
Hey,
What
speak-
position did you play when you played baseball?
I was a hitter.
Your hitter?
It didn't matter really the position, as long as I could hit.
Look, okay.
Speaking
Exactly.
of trash cans, there was a moment
Oh,
in
Costa's
time
here.
at
Yeah.
Star 100.7. I had Mike Costa, Eddie Papani, and that man right there, Brian Wilson.
Nothing good could come of those three.
But those three pretended they were in the cast of Stomp.
Right.
And we gave away tickets downtown, and they took trash cans and beat it downtown. Remember that?
music.
And people gathered around and thought we were the real cast. And we were completely, like, none of us were dressed the same. It was, but this is kind of what we did all the time. So you kind of grew up, like, I grew up with these promotions and these big things. It's different now.
Did you ever have to fire any on-air personality? Was there that his hardest part of the job? Turn your playbook. Did you ever
I
do
didn't
that?
necessarily have to do it, but yeah, underneath my watch on the station, it did happen.
Can you believe that Tommy's still in the building and I'm still in the building after all of the culling, the thinning of the herd? We're still there.
Yeah, well,
I can't even believe it.
It's a survival.
Like, we're the last
Our
two
business-
people there. I
our
swear to
business
God.
is a survival. I mean, you guys have all been around, right? I think that's having grown up here and seeing it. It's changed so much. And you were talking about like how you want to start in promotions.
Yeah.
Kids don't want to go through promotions anymore. I say kids. I'm 47, but like
Well,
kids
that's to us.
yeah.
You're a kid.
Yeah, they don't want to do it anymore. They want to go immediately
wanna
on
go
air.
yeah,
You know, they're
straight
like,
to
I'm
morning.
an influencer. Look what I can do with my social media. But I'm like, oh, I knew that it was about paying my dues because
Yes.
I wanted to make it a career.
And that was the, what were you saying that station was number, the
Star
best-
100.7.
Star 100, obviously, came
It used to
after.
be called B100, baby.
After-
You better
obviously
believe it, baby.
Came after the 91X era in which I introduced, but that's sure.
That was, by the way, 50 years ago.
Oh, God, wasn't that great?
But I
we
thought
said-
for sure he would say that because 91X back in the day, I mean, everyone had their kind of little run, but you're right, absolutely.
Thank you.
Russ didn't, but that was good.
All right, let's bring on the next guy.
Let's say hello to Ryan Hillard first. Come on, man. My favorite freaking musician in the city. Dude. God, you are literally my favorite musician in the city. No, I'm not kidding. Will you just slice off a little something?
Maybe. Oh yeah. Make a riff.
Like
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
do a little
Yeah.
job someday.
The fact that you can even play that.
Play,
Like, Tommy's going to go home and practice now.
Van Morrison. Play Van Morrison.
Half a mile from the county fair, and the rain came pouring down. Me and Billy standing there, silver half a crown. And hands are full of fishing rods, but the tackle is on our backs. We just stood there and getting wet with the backs against the fence. Oh, the water, oh, the water. Oh, the water, let it run all over me.
Can you believe that?
Love that.
He's like Van Morrison in your pocket.
And he hasn't even
You can pull it out anytime you want.
You know, The only person that will know this music reference is Jim McGinnis if he's watching, but you sound a lot like George Lowell of Little Feat.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you so much. That's like the.
Yeah.
You guys are really buttering my bread today.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on a roll, which explains
The butter on your
look at
egg.
Let's bring in the next guest.
Professionals over there.
Our next guest, he's heard on KUSI Thursday mornings for the Friday Morning Friar Report.
What?
Yes,
That's a lot
he's
of-
a
that's a lot of alliteration.
long-time sports radio broadcaster. Yes, he was on that Star 100.7 crew. Luis Costa, better known as Mike Costa. Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Now, you enter like a conquering hero every time you come to the studio.
I warmed it up for
It's like
you
you're
as well.
Caesar.
Thank you. Let the pigeons loose.
Because Costa joins us on our national television program, which is the studio, and Costa's like, "You're welcome." He walks in the door.
I'm done.
You're welcome.
You're
Thank you.
welcome, America.
Yeah.
We're going to practice your ability to fire radio personality in just a few minutes. So
Oh,
stick around.
certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Can't wait.
Have you ever been in the upstairs office? Like, were you ever called upstairs?
At
Anywhere.
iHeart?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, to
And
get
you
in
start
trouble?
shaking like Don Knotts, like something bad. Like, what's the worst could happen? They could fire you, which is going to happen anyway.
Right,
Like, we're in
right.
the business, right? We're going to get fired. Right?
I worked for this guy, this program director in Santa Barbara, who was such a turd, and we just called him Buzzkill. Yeah. And so one time,
was
up
it
there,
Buzzkill in the morning, everybody?
Yeah, exactly. So one time, I guess Earth Day is really big in Santa Barbara, and they said, "Hey, what are you going to do?"
Lucadia, too.
Yeah, what are you going to do, Costa, on Earth Day? I go, well, I'm going to do what everyone else does: burn a tire in my backyard. So
I'm going to throw my McDonald's wrappers out the window, driving my Cadillac down the
And
road.
so we go to break, and the studio phone rings. Did we say we're gonna burn a
tire?
And I said, no, we didn't. I
did.
I'm gonna need to talk to you afterwards. So I went upstairs, and I got like a half-hour lecture
Yeah.
on how big Earth Day is in Santa
Oh,
Barbara.
that's good.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
And you got the oil duck trophy. For,
Hey, Mike, do you agree?
Trophy.
Do you agree with the Star 100.7 fact?
My God, man.
No, I just want to know because
Like, enough about me. What about you? What do you think about me?
No. It's not about me.
Honest to
It's about
God.
Star 100.7. Don't you think you guys were like assistants and now you guys are big time? Right?
Oh, as far-
By the way, did you mean to say mere assistants?
No, but you know what I
We're
mean?
promotions dweebs.
Yeah, and now look at you guys.
I'll tell you what, and I'm not going to speak for him or anybody else there. It gave me a tremendous platform to start. There was a lot of very brilliant people who knew how to do things right, knew how to do things in a big way. Obviously, getting to know Jeff and Jer, two monsters in the morning business.
God, they
Tommy
really
as
were.
well.
Behind the scenes, they were horrible.
oh.
I didn't know.
that's why we have a
I didn't know what you
special-
meant. I didn't realize what you were saying.
We
Sorry.
have an ex-wife of one of the two right here on.
Sorry.
And props to Tracy Johnson.
Tracy Johnson, too, because he was the ringmaster. But yeah, I think it gave us a tremendous springboard to the greatness that I am today.
Long, hard climb to the middle.
It really is.
Pretty much.
That's why he makes the medium bucks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Mike, just shoot for average. You'll be happy.
Surely.
Okay.
All right.
Enough of him. Let's go.
Our next guest,
Yeah, we're done.
he's originally from Los Angeles, California, seen on KTLA. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Hartman.
Let's face it. He's heard a mile from wherever he's standing.
Jack in the Box
Have you
turns
heard?
on.
Have you heard? This mic's not even on.
Nobody told me
See,
this.
how are you,
What
Stan?
happened here?
Right
Where
over-
is this?
I warmed the
I thought
seat up
this was
for
going
you.
to be my show alone.
That's all.
What happened here?
We got to talk.
I got sold a bill of goods here. What's going on,
Good to
guys?
see you, man.
How are you?
Are
Always.
you-
good to
by
see
the way,
yes.
you're like 850 years old.
I am.
You still look like you're 30.
Well,
You look like one of those men's, like, I'm going to dye my beard commercial on the box guy. Like, you were like, honest to God, man.
He
You're
swapped
like an
jeans
adult
with,
groom.
I don't work for a living. Okay, when you talk sports all day long, it's not like there's a lot of wear and tear on the body.
Playland. You're playing.
You're on for a couple
Playing game.
hours, and you sit back and you just take the leisurely life. Look,
But did Steve Garvey give you some blood? Seriously.
Oh, my God.
the Garv
Or
had,
G.I.
the
or
Garv
G.I.
had a little
Joe.
help. You know
Either
what?
one.
He was an inspiration to me. First time I ever met Steve Garvey, he was still playing for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I was starting at KBC Radio. It was 1982, the last year he played for the Dodgers. And I was introduced to him, right? And it's like, okay, we have the same first name, but I'm just like some schlub, you know, walking around.
Same haircut.
And same haircut and everything else. And so like 2 weeks later, I run into him, and he walks, Steve, how are you?
Wow.
And I'm like, now, I know we have the same name, but I mean, come on.
He was kind of Jesus, wasn't he? He was a really nice guy. And by the way,
Garvey's great, of course, you know, father of our country and everything else.
When you were describing him, I thought you were going to say, I ran into Steve Garvey who had a Chinese chicken salad for lunch and was dating that's that guy.
Yes.
I love the fact that you're the fact guy. You could, like, if I said, okay, Heisman Trophy winner in 1970.
1970 was Jim Plunkett, but the rest of the top 10, let's go
Not
down.
the ugliest
Bill Tyson
human.
was second, Archie Griffin was third. You've got Steve Worcester at Texas fourth. You got Rex Kern fifth. You got Pat
God, this is
Sullivan
like, you know what this is?
before
He's
he
like,
won the Heisman.
oh my
was
God, it's
sixth.
my favorite
Jim
thing.
Otis at Ohio State was seventh. Ernie Jennings of Air Force was eighth.
Ernie.
Oh,
So wait a minute. So Archie Griffin, although he won it twice, right?
What
Right,
about
he was
Archie
fifth
Bunker?
also. Archie Griffin was fifth in his sophomore year.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in 1973.
How about Best Actor in 1980?
1980 was Robert De Niro. Come on, now, it's Raging Bull. You know that.
Isn't that incredible?
Steve, this is why you're divorced, man.
It is.
Wait a minute.
You know how you're supposed to find someone with common interests? Nobody has my common interests.
No.
There's no,
Like you are
there's
the
nobody I can
walking
share
Cliff
this with.
Clavin of the world.
You are my Siri.
Yeah.
My first job, seriously, was working for a man named Bud Ferrillo. He was a longtime radio TV guy, or radio newspaper guy in Los Angeles. And I happened to go on his radio show when I went to UCLA. And somebody asked a trivia question that he was about to answer, and he did, but I corrected him.
Oh, good one.
And then, so we go to a break, and he goes, "Don't you ever do that again." But at the end of the show, he goes, "I need your number." He hired me.
No.
He was doing Dodger Talk, and he hired me, because there obviously no internet way back in the day,
no Siri.
to literally be his little computer head.
Right.
Well,
That's
wait a
how I
second. So
started.
on that subject, though, remember,
Yeah.
do you guys remember when we were in the studio pre-2000, and there was one television with a there was a
yeah,
remote,
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
and there was one computer with MS-DOS on it
Yeah.
that we
Right.
couldn't figure out how to use.
And an AP wire.
And an AP wire.
The AP wire.
That was it.
Yeah,
But it
was
had the
literally-
amber screen.
It did. Yeah.
You went from green to amber.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got it from the movie War.
I did overnights, like at KBC Radio. I did the overnight shift. They had a show called The Ken and Bob Company. It was a big morning show in LA at the time. And so I work a midnight to 7 a.m. shift, you know, with the typewriters. Had Ray Breen, this overnight guy, the palest man because he never saw the sun. And you're right, there was nothing to keep us entertained.
Yeah.
Now, there was a TV in the corner, and that's when they started having that soft porn, you know what I'm talking about?
Do I? I was
remember
in
that?
for- oh.
And so what
have
we
no
would try to do
He
is
was in most of it.
pen on there where it would maybe
the squiggly lines?
freeze frame it. Just a
Skinemax.
little
Oh, remember trying to make it out in the squiggly
Yeah.
lines?
Spice.
Wait a minute.
Remember when your parents had like,
Oh, always.
After the break, we're going to bring in our next iconic guest.
There's more?
all right, yeah, there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. The man who invented doing radio with the door open. You guys know what I'm talking about?
We do.
I want to talk OTA with you. I'm excited. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Ryan Hillard up there playing
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
for all of us. Más música, por favor.
So we still. Why are you in the prison outfit, by the way?
I don't have any pants.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's a sports icon. He was the voice of the San Diego Chargers during the glory years. He's everyone's favorite Lee Hacksaw Hamilton.
Come on, Lee.
There you go.
From Baja to the Canadian Rockies, all over the bar, I want to talk sports with you.
Right
In
there,
San Diego, out San Diego. Phone book, internet. Leave me alone. Leave the
Lee.
door open. Was there anybody that didn't listen to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton in his life at one point while they were driving down the freeway?
We were the first ones to do it. That's
You
the most
were,
amazing
like
thing.
you two guys.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you guys were hustling FedEx envelopes somewhere for some, you know.
I was interning for him.
Yeah. Wow. But honestly, like, you guys, like Brad Sessmat.
Can I share a story about
Yes.
Lee? All right,
Yes.
so the very first day that I broadcast from 690, so I'd come down from LA, And remember, this whole deal was Hacksaw had already been there for 3 years, and he was
the man.
The whole station was built around Lee and the afternoon drive, big success, home of the Charger and everything
The
else.
franchise.
So I get hired to do this midday show with Brad Sessmat, who was basically Lee's assistant at the time. So we're going to do a 4-hour lead-in. So anyway, I'm sitting there with my National Sports Daily. Anybody remember the National? It was a brief paper.
Yeah.
It was like a
Is that
network
Frank
paper.
DeFord's?
Yeah, it was like the only thing we had to go by because, you know, it was way before the internet. So I'm getting ready, and Lee walks in. You know, Hacksaw. Here comes Hacksaw, right? He immediately goes, "Hey, Brad, you got that whack report ready to go?" Now, again, when you talk about the whack report, right? Oh, that's right. Western Athletic Conference,
okay.
San Diego State. So he would do the whole rundown, right, of all the teams and everything else. So Brad's like, "Yeah, I got that already, Lee." And he looks at me and goes, "Hey, rookie, how about giving me a Pac-10 report?" And I'm like, my
Hey,
response.
snot-nose,
And so,
you over
and so-
here.
and my response was, "How about you get ready for your show and I'll get ready for my show?" Now this,
Oh, boy.
Wow. That sounds just like you, actually.
did not go over well with Lee. Okay,
think?
you know, but I never did a Pac-10 report. But I mean, when I think back to how we started at that station,
Yeah.
and you know, we have to give our guy John Lynch a lot of credit. He hung in with us. If it wasn't for 91X, we never survived those first couple of years. But we had that incredible run in '92 with the Chargers. The ratings exploded.
Lee,
and the
there
rest
was a
history.
demarcation point, though. When you got on the air, you created something no one had before.
Well, nobody on the West Coast had done it. I think we were the third station in the nation to go all sports. WFAN, WIP in Philadelphia. And then we showed up and we did stuff, or I did stuff, because I was on the street corner by myself for almost 3 years, because they tried an amalgamation of formats around me and it never quite got caught up. And then they didn't have the patience to stay with it. At one time, we had Rush Limbaugh,
I was gonna say.
Dr. Laura, Larry King, Hacksaw,
Rusty's
Chargers,
cooking report.
That's Newsblock. And by the way,
Yes, sir.
I told you that counseling would work, but you obviously didn't do that.
I'm out for the weekend.
He's on a day release program.
So we put together a great run, and it wasn't by blueprint. They stumbled into things. When they brought me over from Phoenix, I had done Arizona State football. I had established a legacy sports giant of the Southwest. They knew my shtick. And they said, "We want you to be the first piece of the puzzle." And it took them a while to figure it out. And then Steve came on board, and they were juggling balls in the air. What should they do? And they came up with a brilliant idea, and this goes back to John Lynch's creative genius. Let's pair Chet 40 with Steve. And I thought to
The
myself,
Monday Night Football guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I said, this is going to work great, because you got old guy, young punk, East Coast, West Coast. This is going to go great. So that ingredient was put in place. And then they stumbled upon Jim Rome. And Romy did a great job on a night show.
But we all did. He was short. He was in the studio. He was kind of in the way.
Yeah, you got tripped over him.
So then he evolved, and they put him on mid-morning into the Loose Cannons, which I called him and Chet 40, then the My Show, and then we sandwiched it around play-by-play. But we were the first one on the big signal, 77,000 watts, biggest station.
Well, Baja to the Canadian Rockies.
Exactly, and that's
Come on.
not.
Say it again. I just got to hear it.
Well, and the biggest thing for us,
Wait a minute.
Nation, is.
I want to hear the open. Wait a second. I want to hear the
Hartman, hold on.
Can I interrupt him?
There we go.
From Baja to the Canadian Rockies, you're right. I'm bleeping brilliant.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
As a fan listening to you and Chet 40,
Yeah.
it was amazing because I did know his history. What was it like for you working for someone like that?
Well, let's go back to the day he was hired. So we're having this press conference, and we had Chet on as a guest twice. Should have been a precursor of things to come. Why are we bringing this guy on several times? We know his story. He was facing federal income tax charges.
Oops.
He had a federal indictment facing him, and he
Let me
was
get this straight.
basically.
We had Roger Hedgecock on 760.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bases covered.
Balance it.
he was looking at prison term within a year. Oh, wow. That was the story, that he's going to be in prison in a year. So we have this press conference. Chet's introduced. I'm sitting next to John Lynch, and Lynch is looking at me because I'm still pretty much a novice at this point, and he just says, "Make it work." And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing, much less what this guy's doing. So when Chet and I started on the air, we just started yelling at each other. Like, it was bad. There was one day when our boss, Howard Freeman, came in and just said, "I don't want you guys showing up tomorrow. Okay, just let it cool down." So I come back the next day, and Chet didn't say anything. He seemed fine. This is when we were doing the morning show at 6 o'clock. And that greasy spoon at the end of the street, right? This place, Perry's.
Perry's.
Yeah.
Might still
Great
be there.
Love
It is still there.
It's still there, right? So
You got a little egg
so
there on your-
I get up at 6 o'clock, and I'm like, where is Chet? Now, sometimes he would go to a bathroom break before he'd go on the air, not uncommon. So our producer runs down, he comes back, he goes, Chet says he's not going back on the air till you apologize to him. I said, well, I guess he's
This
not
is
going on
great.
the air.
Wow.
So he then goes down to Perry's to get breakfast.
Sure.
So he's gone the whole first hour. I'm asking for any attorney. Do I have any legal recourse? Anybody listening right now? He finally comes back at the top of the 7. I said, wow, look what the cat dragged in. He goes, yeah, well, you know, they told me I had to show up. It's the only reason I'm here right now. But I thought this was going to be the shortest lived show of all time. Because we were just yelling at each other.
And when you yell, does your voice get any louder than now? Because
cannot get any louder.
it's way.
Brian, I have a question. So radio's a slow-moving wheel. We've all been there when stuff happens. Like Costa hosted Rock 105.3 for about a cup of coffee at some point, and so things change, right? And you have to let it percolate because we all think when we're behind the microphone, it's happening right now. It ain't happening right now. It's just like a 6-8 month thing, right? When you guys make changes.
And there's been so much evolution in it, right? I mean, I've worked with all these guys. And
Weren't you the program director of most of these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never officially with Steve, though he was on actually out of LA at the time.
Yeah.
But yes, with Lee and with Mike. Mike and I even did a radio show together.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you get wiser as you get older, you look back. I think, calls are things that enhance a show.
Yeah.
We used to think like one bad call would just make you feel like it was the end of the world. Where like that's such a minute part of the audience. And now people don't even want to pick up the phone to call anymore. They're going to send in a text or a social media tweet.
Cliff Albert used to tell me the callers are 1% of your audience. Don't judge your popularity by how many calls you have coming.
Right.
Which I
Right,
thought was
absolutely.
really interesting.
It's so true.
But they can enhance a show, they can make a show, they could break your show, depending on if you're interviewing calls. You know what I mean? Like that's the hard part. But they could actually take you down a road where you could show your brilliance. I used to call in to both of their shows. That's
We
the
have
most ironic
that.
part.
We have it right here. Here it is.
And it was. That's the topic on the table.
That's it.
It does all
Put some
start.
topics on the table.
It all starts with a great phone screener. It does. It really does.
It does.
Absolutely, Tommy.
100%.
Does one exist? Does
yeah.
one exist?
might be one right there.
They're now doing their own
Yes,
show.
they are. All right, on the air's on the air. Stand by, right more of these guys. Less of us coming up. Let's talk sports. Don't you just want that at your house?
Yeah.
I want to have it on a Friday afternoon. That. Just like,
It's
hey
amazing.
Hillard.
Come on over, play by the pool.
Unbelievable. Ryan Hillard with us today on the Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, Mike Costa, Steve Hartman, and from the Beach Boys.
Brian Wilson. Hey, but I do have a question because right here in front of us, we have at least 300 years of broadcast experience. Seriously.
Yeah.
Lee, tell us a story. You must have so many stories.
Hold
Give
on,
me a
Lee.
story.
Lee, hang on a second. All right, good.
Thank you. So the best part, I think we're all experiencing it now, is the history of what we built and the legacy we left behind with all the diverse guys. And we talked about Chet Forty, who I just thought was so much fun to be around. And you talk about history and knowledge. And the best part I ever had with Chet was when Chet became one of our color analysts on the Chargers broadcast on the
right, I forgot about that.
Super Bowl season. We would go on the road and we would sit in a hotel lobby and he would tell stories of where he had been with Howard Cosell and Dandy Don because he was the creative juice behind what those guys did. And when Chet passed so suddenly because of the heart attack, I mean, it was just devastating to the station. And John Lynch was trying to configure how do we replace a guy that had kind of really become an integral part of what we were. And I said, well, I got a guy in the East Coast that I use occasionally as an NFL insider. And he's really different. He's really old. He's still got a black and white TV. Doesn't have a cell phone. I said, Bill Warndell. And they said, well, let's bring him in here. And he knew Billy from being on my show doing interviews. So they brought him in. And he sat right down in that chair. And he, Philly Billy, and Homer Hartman did not miss a beat. And again, there was no blueprint, no game plan. They just stumbled upon all these great people. And it came together. And they took the show to another level. And we're still friends with those guys.
Having that wash over the comedy world, Chet was hired to direct the first Dennis Miller show because Dennis Miller wanted that live energy of Monday Night Football, which is where Chet Forte, I guess, came from.
Well, if you want me to share a story about Dennis Miller, so right after Chet and I started doing our radio show together, our producer gets a call from Dennis Miller's producer. Remember when he was doing the late night show to go opposite Arsenio Hall?
Yeah, Coco.
And he had just left Saturday Night Live to come to L.A. to do a show. So we had no idea. Dennis is a big sports fan. He'd been listening to our radio show. He goes, I want us on. Right. So, okay, so we're going on this national show. So the musical guest that night was Johnny Rotten, who goes, at that point he had left the Sex Pistols and he was doing his own thing. So he is performing right as Chet and I are backstage. And so he finishes his set, and apparently they had told him, you're not going to be interviewed, you're just going to do your musical. And he goes, hey, Dennis, thanks for not having me on, you wanker. So we're backstage, and all hell breaks loose. Sure. And you can hear Dennis go, can you imagine those sports guys, what the hell they're thinking now with this guy, this nutcase on the set? And so we went on with Dennis, and then he brought us back and everything else. And I think what was really amazing about 690 in the beginning is that, you know, when you're on the radio, you're not really thinking about listeners, especially, you know, there was no internet in those days. And then all of a sudden you're getting feedback from people. You're like, you listen to us? Like, you know us? You know who we are? And that was the power of 690. There will never be anything like 690. Everyone tries to duplicate it. There's no way to go back in time.
What do you
77,000 watts, biggest station in the nation.
I mean, to give you an idea, guys, in 1992, when the Chargers had their first playoff run in 10 years, that fall book, I mean, I think our morning went from a 1.6 to a 6.8.
Yeah.
Which,
by the way, if you pull a 1.6 in sports, though, that was actually not a bad thing for some time. And that was actually
now they was like for that.
It was like business radio.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were putting numbers up that were astronomical in supposedly a city that wasn't really a sports
And then we
city.
went to the Super Bowl in '95. I mean, what an amazing accomplishment for our community, and then to be part of that. And of course, that window closes pretty quickly, and then within the next year, all 5 of their offensive linemen had knee surgeries, and Stan Humphries got a concussion, and his career was over, and the thing went down the drain.
Yeah, that window not only closed, it got stuccoed over here in San Diego.
Yeah, next thing you know, Ryan Leaf showed up.
3 knee surgeries, 3 affairs, and a restraining order.
All right, Mike Costa, tell us the story.
It's as everybody knows, and who's worked in radio. It's the show during the breaks. It's the show after the show before the show. And this is one of my all-time favorite stories. And I was with Steve for it. We're down in Tampa covering Ravens Giants Super Bowl, and Jim Laswick at the time was it DirecTV?
Yes,
working for DirecTV, and he had a big setup at the Super Bowl experience, NFL experience, and he said, "Hey guys, come on down one afternoon. Marcus Allen was going to be there. Just hang out and, you know, let's spend some time together." So Steve and I make it to the DirecTV setup, and Dan Marino was going to be there and spend a couple minutes on stage with Jim. And so we're down in Tampa, so all these Miami Dolphin fans are there, and there's this one family, and it's a father and a wife and like 3 or 4 kids, and they are decked out. Jerseys, a couple of them are wearing helmets, gloves, Marino this, Marino that. I mean, they are just all 13 Dan Marino. So Dan Marino pulls up like at a big Lincoln Continental or something, and he gets out, he's waving to the fans, and they're all, Dan, yeah. Oh, Dan, you're the greatest. And he's like, yeah, I'll be back. So he goes into the green room and is waiting to go on stage, and Steve walks over and goes, so you're big Dan Marino fans. Oh, he's the best. We love him. Dan is so great for this football team, the community of Miami, all the great stuff that he does. And so we're going, wow, you guys are really Marino fans. Yeah, we love Dan. So Dan goes up on stage. What did he spend? Maybe 60 seconds with Jim Laswick, comes back into the green room, comes down off the stage, and runs right to his car, and they're asking him to sign and stuff, and he literally just ducks in his car and takes off.
Oh, man.
And there's this pregnant pause, and then it's F you, Marino. And I mean,
you suck. You're no Elway. You're no Elway.
Always, you have no Super Bowls, and the father's dropping F-bombs.
We were laughing so hard we fell over after talking to these people because
the kids are crying.
God.
And
he just blew them off.
And it's
you know, the most amazing thing is each of us has gotten to deal with a lot of different athletes over a long period of time. some nice people, some really bad
Yeah,
citizens.
you had to deal with Ryan Leaf. What the hell was that?
But I'll tell you what, the two best that I crossed paths with in San Diego were Tony Gwynn,
Oh yeah.
the player hyphen person, and the just retired Philip Rivers. They got it compared to everybody else that we've ever crossed paths with.
That's a lot of people too.
No.
And most of them are pretty good guys. And time is always constrained.
Wasn't Daryl and Monica? Was it?
Okay, would you stop? Would you stop? Oh my God.
Well, after the break,
Was it Gary Garrison? Come on, man.
after the break, we got to talk to Brian Wilson and get a story out of Brian.
Brian Hillard. BrianHillardMusic.com. It's on the air. It's on the air. Hey, on the air is on the air. I got a question for you guys. So, listen, the 400-pound gorilla is the Ryan Leaf story, because there was a cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Had Peyton Manning on one side, had Ryan Leaf on the other side, and like, where are they going? And we were all sort of rooting to get Ryan Leaf at the time because he was better looking, he was taller, he looks like a better athlete, and I think even his first pass was,
It was out of Lucia, I believe.
Oh my!
You're right
Home
about that.
run. Home run.
And he connected.
But the wheels fell off. And you guys interviewed enough guys in your career when you can see. It's like I say to you all the time on our show. Las Vegas, pro football, 23-year-old millionaires. What could go wrong? Right? I mean, you guys know when the wheels are about to fall off. Was there any inkling that this guy was going to be such a disaster?
They'll have dancers on the goalpost, by the way.
Yes,
Go
thank
ahead.
you. The head coach at Washington State lied to Bobby Beathard. Now, Peyton Manning was going one. The Chargers' option was Ryan Leaf.
Right.
They took him, but Mike Price lied about the guy's background, student of the game, and Ryan Leaf got by in great physical talent and 5 wide receivers playing against 5'9" cornerbacks, and that's why he looked so brilliant.
Yeah.
But when he got there and you found out he wasn't a student of the game and you found out he was a jerk, etc., that the wheels did come off. Yeah. I'll never forget when they named him and he was ripped by Lee Steinberg. And I thought, well, he and Steinberg will control him. Yeah. Never happened. Leaf was so off the charts in terms of lifestyle and trouble in the community and all that. I'll never forget, I had gone to Seattle to be the voice of the Seahawks after the Chargers left our station. Yeah. We played the Chargers in a game up at the Kingdome. And Leaf was coming in, and Leaf was going to start, and he and Craig Wheelahan threw 7 interceptions in one game. I looked across our box to the other box where Bobby Beathard was sitting, and his face was ghost ashen white. I mean, just bad deal.
The Colts went up to Idaho, where Leaf was from, and interviewed the community, and they said this is a bad seed. Chargers didn't.
It was like that movie. It was like the movie Draft Day, right?
Right, and remember this: they had the 3rd pick in the draft. They traded up to get to number 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't that they used a draft pick on him; they wasted draft picks on him.
Well,
He still was 4-0 in preseason, 2-0 to start the season.
Yes, he was.
And then he went to Kansas City. 2 for 15. He had 100-something degree temperature.
He was 1 for 15, 4 yards.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I still believe Gilbride was the worst possible fit for him coming in as well. I think the guy, I think PR-wise and a lot of stuff that happened to him, we shared a common bond. The kid that he beat out at Washington State was a quarterback from my high school that I went to high school with. So he knew that. So he connected it with me. And at one point, he put me in the locker room and stuck me in his locker to talk to me individually. It was very awkward.
Yeah, he was just misunderstood.
But I'm saying he was very, very immature. And that was a point where there was just no leadership. And it was very obvious when Junior took his credit card and did the whole. He didn't get it. There was no connection there. Now they have people that onboard these people. They have people that are there to help them because some of these kids just don't get it. He never, ever got it. And, I mean,
well, maybe
he never figured it out. To his credit, he's still fighting for his life.
The Spanos brothers might have been able to relate to a jack wagon like him. Huh?
Yeah.
They've done that too.
They've done that too.
Well, then you had the Jay Posner incident, which is really when the wheels came off. And I remember
in the locker room.
Jay worked for me when I was at UCLA sports editor. I hired Jay Posner as a freshman writer. He's now, of course, the sports editor of the Union Tribune. But Jay calls me that night because all of a sudden it was out there because you had the videotape, and I told Jay, I said, do you understand that they'll be replaying that like for eternity? Like literally,
right now we're playing it out.
And they still do, right?
Knock it off, leave me alone.
25 years
If
later.
Junior wasn't there that day, that was going to get ugly. I was in there, you were in there, we were all there.
You guys were there? Were you in the room?
Absolutely.
Wow.
It was awkward.
You know, you mentioned Junior, and we've all covered victories, defeats, good times, bad times. That day when Junior Seau committed suicide had to be the lowest day in the history of San Diego Charger history. And when you look back, football was his life, and when he had no football, he had no life, and it ended so tragically. And the thing that bothers me to this morning is he had an inner circle of friends, family, and a bunch of NFL guys that he ran with, and not one person recognized how deep the abyss was that he had fallen into. It makes my heart ache. And we've all covered bad stories, and I'm sure you guys felt the loss too.
Well, I mean, and that's something, because you guys get to know these guys, right? Like unlike in the news, you know, other than knowing a city council member for a few years or a mayor here and there, you don't really get to know the people in the news. Like, you guys get to know people in sports. Like, you travel with them. And stuff, right?
With Junior, when he opened Seau's, the restaurant, he asked me to MC the event. So we had this big night out at this opening of Seau's, the restaurant, and I remember because there were a lot of Charger fans outside, and the idea was this was going to be sort of a VIP opening night.
Right.
We'll let people in later. So, and there was a huge crowd out there, and Junior comes up to me and he goes, "We got to get these people inside." I go, "Junior, you can't. There's too many people out here." He goes, "No, get them inside." I mean, we love the guy. I did his golf tournament, did a lot of things with Junior Seau, and I'm with you, Lee. I mean, there were people obviously closer around him that had to see something. He had the incident where he drove off the road. It might have been a precursor of things
for
to
help.
come. So, I mean, it just, when you think about the two biggest stars in this city during our heyday were Junior Seau and Tony Gwynn, and they're no longer with us, is just mind-boggling to me because they were icons of the highest.
So hold on. So is Fernando Tatis Jr. the new icon?
He's the real deal right now, and we'll see what his life evolves into. But boy, he's a great talent.
Let him
He's
play.
doing all the
Let
right
him just
things,
play.
though.
Let him breathe. He's a young kid.
He's on. Put it this way: Leaf went on this path. Tatis Jr. is on this.
This
path.
kid gets it.
Yeah, he does.
He understands. He's
'Cause of his
reaching out
dad.
to the fans. He's doing everything right.
Or is it an also-ran that came in a trade deal called Cronenworth, which is my favorite player in the universe? I mean, think about that.
He's great, too.
Think about that.
I mean, I think you're right. I mean, San Diego's clamoring for people. You talk about the passing of Junior and Tony Gwynn. Mix in that same window of time, Jerry Coleman passed away. It was, I mean, talk about punching the gut for San Diego sports fans our whole lives. So it's, I think we're clamoring for some of these young people that you get to actually own a jersey and that player's on the back of the jersey for more than 1 or 2 years.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, I say that as a guy with my own kids, and I'm like, hey, you can put Tatis on the back of your jersey if you want.
And Tatis signs autographs. That's the most amazing thing in front of the fans every game. And I hope he stays that way. I hope he never forgets what made him so popular off the field, aside from the 48 home runs and the 328 batting average.
I'm envisioning that Marino scene where Tatis might have stuck it.
Hey, after the break, I want to ask you, when you guys are driving down Mission Valley and look over where the stadium was, I want to know what you guys are thinking. Can we ask that after the break?
Is Brian
After
Wilson,
the break.
I want to hear Brian Wilson's story.
Yes.
That's what they're thinking.
Yes.
We're weeping as we're driving by this thing that looks like a Lego standing up there. It's going to be our stadium. Oh, my gosh. Perfectly.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they opened up the club level at the Chargers?
Oh my God.
Was that like the internet was invented that year? Do you remember that? And all of a sudden, it was the greatest thing we ever saw.
They have a rubber floor.
Yes.
I just hated that you couldn't get down to it from the one seats. You had to go all the way down. It's a circle.
You can only see it.
It's like
right, that's
this elevator doesn't, the escalator doesn't take you there. You're like, how the hell do I get to that level?
Yeah.
It's like
a
the
special
parking lot at downtown shopping mall there at.
They had padding on the seats.
Yeah.
So, Brian.
That was a great
the
stadium
interesting
back
thing,
then.
though,
Back then was a long time ago.
But think about Petco now, though. I mean, I mean, it's teeming with economic activity. Every time I walk down there going, why did we not get a civic asset, not a Charger stadium?
Yeah.
Why did we not get a civic asset that hosted Major League Baseball, college championships, Rolling Stones, Billy Graham?
All you look at is Glendale, Arizona. They stuck this stadium in the middle of nowhere. Just build a stadium, Glendale, Arizona, in the middle of nowhere. Super Bowls, all these championships in freaking Glendale area. Now they've started to develop the area around it. Yeah. But when they put that stadium there, there was nothing.
The reason it did not get done is John Moore's Larry Lucchino went to meet with Alex and Dean Spanos and said, this is our vision downtown, Petco Park, trigger the enormous growth of Gas Lamp, Convention Center, multiple expansions. We're going to do this. Come be part of it. And they threw him out of the office because the Spanoses knew what they were going to do, and they never got it done. And then Dean decided, I'm going to L.A.
I know you and I were there when Spanos wanted to get our opinion as the tip of the spear. So I was doing afternoons at Kogo, you were doing afternoons or mornings. I don't know if you were there too, but we had a meeting in that funky little performance stage at iHeart. And it was the Spanos family asking the radio hosts, you're taking the temperature every day, what's the deal? And every one of us to the man said, stop calling it a Charger Stadium. The narrative cannot be lining the pockets of a billionaire.
Right.
The narrative has to be, it's a civic asset that you're just the biggest tenant in.
Yeah.
And don't you kind of believe?
It was lie after lie after lie after lie. I mean, look, Dean Spanos is who he is. I mean, this is a guy that got caught cheating up at Pebble Beach. Lied about his handicap, won that Pro-Am, and was forced to not only give back his title, but being banned for life. I mean, the guy's habitual liar.
All you need to know about Dean Spanos, and I love the Chargers. I hope Justin Herbert goes 16-0. I hope Dean Spanos goes 0-16. All you need to know about Dean Spanos.
Quit sugarcoating things.
Born on third base, woke up, thought he hit a triple.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect.
Will we ever have a San Diego Chargers football team or an NFL team again? Or will they float this like they did LA for 25 years and dangle it in front of
the expand the new stadium that's going up. I know that's a conversation you can have down the road, but right now, no. And I think because the good thing is for San Diego is the mega facilities.
The mega region. We're next to Mexico. Last time I checked, there isn't another NFL team that's near that. I'm not sure if that equates to audience.
If you go back,
but the giant palaces, the day of building the SoFi's and the Allegiance is over.
You think back to the Super Bowl between the Packers and the Broncos, which was the second Super Bowl here in 32. San Diego.
And what Ted Booth said.
It was such a huge success, monster success, that they immediately awarded San Diego another Super Bowl 5 years later. But while they exited, they said, but you need to do something about this stadium. Yeah. And when they came back 5 years later and found out they did nothing at that stadium,
the rabbit ears just aren't going to work
anymore. They basically said, all right, I'll tell you what, we love your city.
Yeah.
You got to get a new stadium. Now, if you think back to 2003 when that Super Bowl was played, what the cost would have been at that time relative to what it is now to build a stadium, we're talking pennies on the dollar. Yeah. It was so doable.
The day that Mark Fabiani's first time ever underneath the San Diego Chargers, I was at 760 with Dave and Jeff. I was their producer. We had them on that night, and they wanted it was a $400 million stadium. At the end, what was it, $1.6 billion? Again, now they wanted the land and they wanted everything given to them, but it was a $400 million job at that point.
You know, for years and years, Spanos tried to find a way to get a new stadium. The problem was he'd take a piece of paper, put a picture of a snazzy new stadium on, walk down, give it to the mayor, and say, build it, pay for it, and then give it to me because we're the first family of football.
4 mayors, Lee.
That didn't work.
We had this conversation through 4 mayors, excluding Kevin Faulkner.
Now, Faulkner
think about that.
And Jerry Sanders, the city and the county, I've been here 33 years. First time ever in the history since I've been here, they had a plan that would work. The CSAG thing put together would work with the NFL G3 contribution, Spanos' contribution, PSLs. It would have worked for $1.2 billion, and Dean never went to the table, and he never brought San Diego State into the discussion because he knew if he joined with San Diego State, this measure would get approved because all the Aztec alums were going to storm to the polls and say yes. His whole goal was, 3 years prior to this whole thing starting, was lead him to the end and then go to Los Angeles because I want where the...
So we're basically Fresno now. We had 4 teams here when we were kids.
Dave and Jeff summed it up best on their show. I think they were asked one time, hey, what should the Chargers do? And they both said, just get a decal, which is the Greek sign for greed, and put it on the football helmet and just go play.
That's right.
Wow. You know,
But think about this. He's still pulling it in L.A. Yeah. So he cuts a deal with Stan Kroenke, who's out of pocket almost $6 billion on that stadium.
Well, by the way, his own money, his own checkbook.
Dean Spanos pays no rent. He also had a deal where he didn't have to sell any PSLs, and guess what? They didn't sell any PSLs. All those Charger tickets were gobbled up by ticket brokers, and they are selling them off to all the highest
opponents
bidders.
that come to town.
And so Dean is still paying nothing.
Well, but
I mean,
Dean
the
is-
same
Dean is-
garbage he got here with the ticket guarantee, with the stadium and everything
Mayor
else,
Goldie.
and that new Charger facility that they
but
never
wait
paid a
minute.
penny toward.
Have to understand, Dean is in such financial trauma.
Yeah.
He had to borrow money to move to L.A. to build their practice
it.
facility.
He's got a
He had
tax
to-
problem and a big one. He's got to sell
big
assets
time
off.
cash
He's got the
problem.
relocation fee.
Yeah,
there's that
kicks in.
sister-in-law.
And his sister-in-law has provided all the documents that show at the end of this coming season they're going to be $534 million in debt. And his sister-in-law, Dia, said he's going to one bank to take out a loan to pay off that loan.
What
Mike's
happened
back
to
and
the
said-
$650 million they owe the league with the
start-
relocation?
They
Yeah,
start paying
that-
this year.
Plus,
Well, how are they going to pay
and aren't
that?
they
The
still on the
chances are
hook?
slim and none. Slim just left town. That money's never going to the NFL.
Ever since
They're the
Alex-
last debtor on the street.
Ever since Alex vapor locked, aren't they on the hook for the freaking death tax too?
They have a state tax
The
law.
estate
All right,
tax?
here's what we need to do here in San Diego.
One group
All right,
sign language.
so there's all this talk right now that the Broncos, the Bolin family, after Pat Bolin passed away, is going to be up for sale.
Okay.
And the name Jeff Bezos is out there. All right, so when we have a guy that could literally buy the entire league and rename it the National Amazon League,
Yeah.
he has obviously that clout. What we got to hope is this. So he goes in because Dean's sister has already mentioned the name Jeff Bezos. So he comes in, let's say even I'll exaggerate, let's say the Chargers are worth $3 billion, all right? He comes out and says, I'll give you 6. This is what Steve Ballmer did when he bought the Clippers, 4 times over the face.
he goes in his left
He
pocket
comes
and pulls
in,
it out.
he buys the Chargers, and he goes, you know what? That San Diego's nice. Drop another $2 billion. I mean, this is pocket
Yeah,
change
it
for
is.
this guy.
Yeah.
That's what we got to hope for in
I'll
San Diego.
skip outer
Steve
space.
Hartman for president, damn it.
Come on. Let's do it. Come on,
Mike
Jason.
Costa,
I agree.
Mike Costa, Brian Wilson, and Lee Hacksaw Hamilton.
You guys, let's make this part 1 of like 7.
Yes,
I can do this every day. You guys.
And in closing, because there's a lot of Raider fans around this table, I just want to invoke history. Raider Nation, I want you to call out of jail, on bail. Give me a call on your stolen cell phone in your
out of jail, on bail. I want to talk with you.
Come here, grab your coat and hat, and you walk West Street's trying to remember. All the while, nights breezing in your memories ever